Today's session is a very interesting one because we're going through a very strange time right now. Relationships have, of course, always been around. And then now suddenly we are all pushed together in a different kind of a zone of our relationships. So I don't know how many of you are together with somebody, how many of you are single, but the fact of the matter is that we have multiple relationships. It is not just a man-woman romantic kind of relationship or a husband-wife relationship. There are relationships that are made up of families, of the society we live in, of the place that we work. But because this is a very huge subject, and obviously I cannot, handle all of those relationships in one session, we will be talking about the relationships that we have between two partners, be they man and woman, man and man, woman and woman, but two partners. So that's what we're going to be talking about. We're also going to be looking at the fact that currently, with the lockdown, with the fact that we're all pushed together in one little space, or whatever size of space we have, we are facing challenges to our relationships. So we're looking at it both from the relationships point of view per se, and also from the point of view of the fact that we are in a unique situation. So I'm starting my presentation now, and I will be taking you through a small little journey where we hope that we will all learn together, that we will all be able to take away something from this that we can use to enrich our lives. Chirag, my presentation is not... there it goes. Okay, so this is one of life's toughest journeys, being in a relationship, right? And it calls for, like any journey, there are situations which are demanding. And when we talk about two people coming into a relationship together, we are actually two universes that come into a relationship. Let us suppose that you're with somebody who is of the exact same background, the same socio-economic background, the same language, linguistic, religious, cultural background. Despite all of that, both of you come from your own parenting, your own experiences, your own learnings from life, the books that you read, the not so good and the wonderful experiences that you had. All of that make you who you are. So when two people start walking on this continuum together, many situations they come across, and these situations can be very, very demanding. We'll come and go to that in a minute. Before that, I want to also mention that we also have our own personalities, we have our own habits, and we have various expectations from each other. Nobody has ever been in a relationship where they've not had expectations. And that expectation could be something simple like, you'll be there for me, you will take care of me, you will look out for me, you will help me when I'm in trouble. It could be financial need, it could be educational and emotional needs. There are always expectations. So two people in a relationship will have situations, we will have personalities, we'll have habits, we'll have expectations. What do we do with all of this? We learn to live with them. However, what also happens is that we are faced sometimes with unique situations like we are right now. Who expected this in January? Did you even think that in May, when you thought you might be going on a vacation, or if those of you who have children, the children would be having holidays, or those of you who are planning a move would be moving to a new place or a new home or getting married or God knows what? Nobody had imagined that this would ever happen. None of us. It just hit us like a bolt out of the blue. We were completely unprepared. So what has happened as a result of that is the isolation that has taken place, because we're at home, we're alone. We are suddenly now pushed together with each other. And those of you who are far apart from each other, probably maintaining kind of long distance relationships, even though that distance may be only between from here and Mumbai, it is a distance. It is suddenly the other side of the world. It's not just 180 kilometers away, right? Many of us are working from home. In fact, almost all of us are working from home. We are also in a situation where we're completely locked up and not being able to go out and do the things that we enjoy doing, like meeting friends and so on. So it can bring up a lot of negative emotions in us. But the takeaway from this is that all journeys have challenges. For any one of you out there who think, oh wow, other people must be having such a great time, look at me, I'm so miserable. No, everybody, whether they are kings or prime ministers or beggars, everybody is having a difficult time right now. So everybody's relationships are also facing challenges right now. Just that the face of the challenges has suddenly changed. And let's be okay with that. Let's appreciate the fact that we are all in it together. And therefore, we can talk about it and we can see where to go with this. But before we see where we go with it, we need to understand relationships. I don't know how many of you have actually given a lot of thought to relationships, or have you just gone with the flow? So many people, when I meet them in counseling, tell me, I just went along with the flow. These things happened. We met, we got to know each other, we fell in love, we got married, or we're thinking of getting married. And that, it just happened. Funny, because we plan so many things. We plan our careers, we plan our education, we plan further education, we plan where we're going to live, what we're going to do. How many of us actually sit down and plan what we want out of a relationship? What this other person, is this other person capable of giving us what we want? I don't know how many of us have actually done this. So this is life's toughest journey, but it is also the most rewarding journey that we can have. Some of these journeys are short. Some relationships last for a few months, some last for a few years, some last for a lifetime. Sometimes they go on and on for 18, 15, 20 years, and then suddenly they don't work out anymore. So we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. It's very much like today's situation. But let's look at what we do get out of a relationship. Hopefully we get these things. We get companionship. We get to share with the ups and downs of life. We get mutual support. At least that's what we want to get. We may also, carry this to the next generation and have a family. We may bring little children into this life and say, wow, we're two of us together, so let us have a family. Hopefully, we have very essential elements such as trust and respect. Because, people tell me, how do you know that you met the right person to fall in love with? And I say, does that person trust you? Do you trust them? Do you respect that person? Do you respect them for who they are? Not the value in terms of money or anything that they bring into your life, but in terms of the internal values that they have and they possess, their manners, their behavior. Is that there in your relationship? Then love will stay. But if those things are not there, then love does not have a very long life in such a relationship. So for love to thrive, for love to grow, for love to be something that enriches you and takes you to a different level altogether, you need to have trust and respect. Communication. I don't know. I mean, you can say, I love you, and that's communication. And I love you back, and that's communication too. Not looking at the other person and looking away is also a form of communication. Looking into somebody's eyes and feeling happy and showing them how happy you are is a form of communication. There's verbal communication, there's non-verbal communication, but communication is always there in a relationship. And in a good, healthy, vital relationship, the communication can only improve. When communication starts going downhill, the relationship is getting to be on very rocky grounds. So for a rewarding relationship, we need to have a healthy, communicative relationship. We need to have a relationship wherein we can talk to each other, not at each other. We can listen, not just hear. Everybody can hear. A baby can also hear. Listening is to understand the feelings under the words, behind the words. That calls for good communication. Responding rather than reacting calls for good communication. And we also get together and we set goals with each other. The other day, a friend of mine and I were talking about some work-related goals, and we said, where will we be 1 year from now? How will we do this work? And we've been doing it this way, but now everything's changed. That's also a relationship, like a partnership. And when we're talking about goals in a partnership between two people who decide to fall in love, who decide to have a life together, setting goals is very important. So you may have a set of goals and your partner may have a set of goals, but unless you've communicated those goals to each other, you will not even find out whether there is any commonality in those goals, whether the path ahead is made up of sharing each other's dreams. I was like, oh, my dreams are these and your dreams are these and you do what you like. But then how are you going to walk on this journey together? There will be some individual dreams. You are two personalities, okay, who are walking on this journey. But there will have to be some common goals as well. And what those common goals are, only communication will tell you. Right? You can't imagine what the other person's goals are. You have to know. You can't say, oh, you should know, what I want. No, I don't know what you want. You have to tell me what you want. And then I'll know what you want, and then I'll see whether we are in sync. If we are not in sync, whether we can be in sync, and we can work towards that. Those are the rewards of a healthy relationship. And they're wonderful rewards. But no reward comes for free. You know that. You can't get anything just for free. Even to win the lottery, you have to go buy a ticket, and then who knows whether you will win it or not. So imagine what kind of a lottery this relationship is going to be. Somebody once told me, all relationships are a lottery. I mean, you never know what's going to happen to you. True, but you can make sure that at least you do your best to contribute to winning that lottery. And if you do your best and you communicate your best to your partner, maybe your partner will also do his or her best to take you towards that lottery, that winning, that jackpot. So these are the elements that are very, very important that we need to keep in mind. I'm going to move on to the next slide now. And there are pitfalls also in a relationship. It's like walking on a road. When you're walking on the road, if you're looking here and there and you don't know where you're going, very likely that you will stumble, right? It's happened to all of us. Similarly, in a relationship, if you lose track, if you are not consistent in being aware of your partner, aware of yourself, who you are, what you bring to the table, what you want to share with your partner, like I said, respect, trust, communication. If those are not there, then we're walking down a very, very dangerous path. That's when we start taking each other for granted. Very many times people tell me, this person takes me for granted. Okay, how did that happen? Did you allow the person to take you for granted? Were you aware when you started going from the awareness part of your relationship to the taking for granted part of your relationship? Very many times we are not. And what does that lead to? Basically, the reasons for it are a lack of patience and tolerance. Just imagine, okay, like I told you in the beginning, you have two universes made up of all these different elements, and these two universes touch. They don't merge. We don't become another person's personality, but they touch. Why do they touch? Because something draws these two universes together. That must be love or hope or passion or sexuality, whatever it may be, dreams, those things. Once we start walking on this continuum together, if we start taking each other for granted or we don't communicate well, after some time we start becoming impatient. We become intolerant. We feel that the other person should understand. So our expectations become unreasonable. Once I was in counseling, and I'm not sharing anybody's name or anything, so I'm not breaching confidentiality, but I remember once in counseling, somebody told me, but she should understand what I want. And I said, how? Well, we've been together 5 years or 6 years. I said, great, you've been together 6 years. Can you read her mind? So he said, no. So I said, how do you expect her to read your mind? I know people who've been together 25 years and they cannot read each other's mind. Yes, I might know that my partner likes tea at 5 o'clock in the evening. But I don't know today that my partner wants to have coffee instead, or wants a snack with his tea, or wants to have tea on the terrace. I don't know that. But if he tells me, let's have something to eat along with the tea. No, do we have any, I don't know, chuda or something? Then I'll say, yes, no, I don't think we have chuda in the house. Now we both keep quiet. Now if I were to tell him we don't have chuda, but we have peanuts and we have some biscuits, would you like that? And he might say, yeah, that's a good idea. So we've communicated, a need has been communicated, that need has been understood, the need has been fulfilled in some way, maybe not the perfect way, but in some other way with an alternative, and we have listened to each other. And we can have tea on the terrace or in the living room or the dining table or wherever we want, right? But if you didn't listen, if you didn't care, one person, I would just take a cup of tea, give it to that other person, the other person would take the tea and say, oh, okay, what, no biscuits? And I said, well, you never asked for biscuits. And that's how it goes. So I think it's very important to express what we want. Not just imagine that the other person knows what we want. Then what builds up when we don't do all these things, when we get impatient and intolerant and we don't expect and we have unreasonable expectations, anger and resentment starts building up inside. Frustration starts building up inside. And that gets verbalized, or we have what is called the silent treatment. So we have a breakdown in communication. This is how a really good relationship or the potential of a good relationship can go down. And it's happened to all of us, let's face it. There are lots of times when we haven't said what we want. I was watching a wonderful video the other day when this lady said, oh, the bai hasn't come. I hate this bai. I don't like her at all. So the husband goes and chucks the bai out. The next day, at 10 o'clock, she says, I don't know why the bai hasn't come. I told the watchman to tell her not to come because you don't want her. She said, when did I say I don't want the bai? He said, you said you hate her. You don't like her. So I acted proactively and I went and told the watchman to tell her not to come. So what happens here is communication can go any direction. But we need to be very clear and express what we want. And if we haven't understood, we must ask, honey, is this what you meant? Is this what you wanted? And the other one, no, that's not what I wanted. I meant this. I'm angry with the bai, but I still want. Okay. That is how relationships are kept healthy, by talking. Not by keeping quiet and deadly silent treatment. I will not talk to you. I will not look at you. I will not tell you what I want. So if you come and ask me, what happened to you? Nothing. But no, something's happened. You're looking irritated. You're looking upset. No, nothing happened. And then I wait. So the other person goes away. He picks up his remote and starts watching some cricket match or God knows what. And so look at this person. He doesn't even care about me. He doesn't even know what's going on. Did I tell him? No, I didn't. How do I expect him to understand? Can he read my mind? No. So I think we need to understand that good relationships can go down the drain if we take them for granted and all the stuff that you're seeing on the screen comes in. We need to be very careful. Relationships need to be nurtured. They need to be taken care of like a delicate flower. Doesn't mean that, we have to keep on nurturing them all our lives. We shouldn't take each other for granted either. But we need to understand that a relationship is always a work in progress. It's not happily ever after like Cinderella and Snow White. वो तो फिल्मों की और किताबों की बातें होती है, कहानियों की बातें होती है. In real life, there is no happily ever after. It's every day, one day at a time for the rest of your life. Yes, relationships are hard work, people. They are really hard work. Sometimes when communication, I don't know if any of you ever felt this. I saw this photograph and I said, wow, yes, there are times when there are barriers between us, strong barriers. The barrier of communication or lack of communication rather feels like one solid stone wall sometimes. And so the phrase stonewalling came about, like creating a blockade, creating a barrier that cannot be broken. If you ever feel there is a wall between you, what have you done about it? Have you said, oh, there's a wall between us, now we can't talk to each other, this relationship is hopeless. But you've invested in this relationship, you've invested time, money, effort, emotion. You had dreams, you brought those into this relationship. Yes, if the communication barriers are because the two of you are hugely different personalities and you were just pretending to be what the other person wanted you to be, then there is no way out. You can't keep on pretending all your life. You cannot keep putting your best foot forward all your life. And so that those barriers will grow and grow until finally the relationship is not worth its name absolutely. But if the relationship is otherwise good and every now and then there are communication barriers, then you know that life is sending you a message. Work on your communication. You need to work on it. You need to improve it. It's crashing. Improve it. These are signals that you have to look out for. No third person is going to come and tell you, hey, what is wrong with you people? You have to see it. You can't be blind to it. So in couplehood, there are crises. Yes, like I said earlier, there's no happily ever after. Sometimes we hold on to the past. We keep saying, oh, you said this to me and you behaved like that with me. And at the wedding, your kaki did not talk to my mommy. And, your mom said this to me or your father said this to me. We hold on to those. Oh, you had a girlfriend before we got, oh, the girlfriend is gone. The person is married to you. And so long as that girlfriend is still not in the life, she or the boyfriend are a part of the past. Do we have to carry the past like on guttery on our shoulders through the rest of our lives? Why? Why do we need to do that? Why do we keep needing to refer to that person? then even if your boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife wants to forget that person, you're not allowing them to forget that person. So there are three people in the marriage or in the relationship. Sometimes crises come because of extended families. We're living with joint families and there's so many different personalities, and we imagine that we have to make everybody happy. You can't make everybody happy. There's no way you can make everybody happy. Of course, we have to adjust, but both have to adjust. The family into which you go also has to adjust. And you know how it is in India, we marry the entire family. If there are 60 members in the family, we're married to all 60 of them, honestly. But what really is important is that little unit, you and your partner. Many people say, and this happens in counseling a lot. Once I remember this lady told me, she said, my husband doesn't love my parents. I said, really? Why should he love your parents? She said, no, because they're my parents. He should love them. I said, excuse me. They have been your parents for 28 years. He has just come into your life, maybe 1 or 2 years ago. How is he supposed to fall in love with your parents? Have you fallen in love with his parents? No. If he falls in love with my parents, then I'll fall in love with his parents. I said, oh my God, this ain't happening, baby. You can respect them, you can like them, but you're not going to fall in love with them. And maybe over a period of time, you will start loving them. And he will start loving your parents. But really, is that the basis on which your relationship is going to be a success? And she said, no, that's not going to happen. I said, then why do we have such unreasonable expectations? And this happens very often, by the way. Very, very often. You can't imagine how often I hear this. Okay? Then another crisis in a couple is parenting. Now most people say, oh, babies are so sweet. How can you call them a crisis? Well, babies are sweet. Pregnancies are wonderful, but some pregnancies are very difficult. And then babies come along, and babies are not always cute. Sometimes they are howling like anything. Sometimes they have diarrhea. Sometimes they have fever. Sometimes they have chicken pox. Sometimes they're falling sick. Sometimes they go through the terrible 2s and the horrible 3s and the God knows what 4s. They go through different stages of development, right? And we have to cope with all of that. Now, one person can't do the coping. Both of you did something to produce that baby and bring that baby into your lives. So how can only one person do the parenting? I have taught parenting classes pregnancy classes for many, many years, and I always used to talk about parenting. And I used to tell people just having a baby doesn't make you a parent. In fact, when we are dead and gone, we are still going to be their parents. So to be a parent, you have to be a very mature, cool-minded person. Are you that person? Do you have a strong... Very often people say, oh, they've got a problem in their marriage. Bachcha ho jayega, sab theek ho jayega. I have never understood this concept. First they say, they're not the... Oh, I heard this the other day. Somebody was saying, oh, theek nahi hai ladka. He doesn't listen. He just seems to be constantly, going out every night, doing this, that and the other. Shadi kara do, everything will be okay. Why? What makes you think that getting married is going to suddenly change somebody's personality? No, he'll become more responsible. And what if he doesn't? Are we playing with some girl's life by bringing her into this marriage? Number one. Secondly, what makes you think that having a baby will make a marriage that is falling apart suddenly become okay? That little 3-kilo baby is supposed to solve adult problems. Really? How? You need to think about this, people. It's happening all around us. People keep saying this. Shadi ho jayegi, sab theek ho jayega. Bachcha ho jayega, sab theek ho jayega. Kaise theek ho jayega? Why? Why do we have such unreasonable expectations from little babies? And parenting is that is in fact the most difficult job in the world. The one job for which we have no training, no education, but we are biologically capable of being parents. So we become parents. Co-parenting is the way to go. Involved parenting. Parenting wherein two partners share responsibilities and are a team. So that children don't become manipulative and take advantage of their problems and their fights and people are fighting in front of their kids. If you're going to be fighting, please don't have children. The arguments should not happen in front of children. Fights, beating. We're seeing so much of domestic violence today. And it's happening in front of children. So you expect these children to grow up healthy? Why? And how? They're like living in Afghanistan or something where bombs are falling all around them. You expect them to grow up healthy? They're not going to grow up healthy. Physically healthy, maybe. And maybe you'll make them happy by buying them gifts and nice birthday parties and taking them to holidays. Are they mentally going to be healthy? I don't think so. So before having children, I think you need to see whether your marriage is on the right track. Don't bring a child into a family. This is a suggestion. It is almost like a very strong suggestion that I'm making. Please don't bring a child into a family where you don't know whether you are on a stable footing with each other. So the unit needs to be strong. If the unit is strong, the extended family all around, the peripheral family will also start feeling comfortable. And you don't have to keep calling up everybody and telling them what's going on in your marriage. Oh, today I made aloo matar and whatever. You don't need to. I don't know. These cell phones sometimes I think really they're overused in so many ways. Then think of having a family. Plan your family on the basis of a strong relationship. Sexuality is another thing that can be. Many people don't understand sex. They don't know. They think it's just what two people do in bed or whatever, in a bedroom or wherever they do it. Because we don't talk about sexuality. When there is a crisis in a relationship, people draw away from each other. They no longer reach out to each other. Right? And sex can either become a very mechanical thing or it just drifts away in a marriage. Sometimes when a couple is going through stress, a man may not be able to perform sexually very well. Or a woman may not be as interested in sex as a man is, or man may be not as interested in sex as a woman is. Sometimes women, after having babies, go through a downtime where their hormones are playing havoc with them and they don't feel like having sex. I think people need to talk about it, not by watching blue films or by reading about it in books which you don't understand half the time what they're talking about, or by trying to understand concepts of a different culture. But I think if there is a crisis, there are people you can talk to. You can't just say, oh, let's not talk about it and it'll become all right after some time. No, sometimes it doesn't. And it can rip a marriage apart or a relationship apart. It can break it down completely. The sexuality is not the foundation of a relationship, but it's a strong element in a relationship. People have sex both for recreation and procreation. Procreation is having children. Recreation is because it's a physical need. But sometimes your partner may not be at the same wavelength when it comes to your physical needs. And you don't talk about it. You shove it under the carpet. You say, ye sab theek ho jayega, ye to honi hai. That doesn't work that way, my friends. It doesn't work that way at all. In fact, sex should get better as you go along in a relationship because you should be able to communicate your needs to each other. People think, oh, you have great sex when you get married, and after that, when you're middle-aged, you're not having sex at all. I'm sorry, excuse me, when you're middle-aged, you're probably having better sex than you had when you first got married or you first met each other. If your communication has been good, if your relationship has been strong, if sex has been a part of the emotions that you express to each other, and that passion is not just something that happens with the lights off. There is non-sexual intimacy as well, holding hands, hugging, making a person feel special. Doesn't involve money, doesn't involve going to a 5-star hotel. It involves just, a couple walking down the street holding hands. It involves just, maybe not even holding hands. It involves just sharing, talking, laughing. Humor is a big part of a good relationship. Without humor, relationships are very dry. Think about it. Okay? And there are financial issues, fears of the future. These are also things that can cause a crisis if you don't talk to each other about them. You can't hide finances from your partner. You can't take away money from your partner and say, this is all mine. What you earn is also mine. You need to talk about finances. You need to talk about savings. You need to talk about the difficulties that are likely to come. You need to talk about the nest egg. The money saved away for a rainy day or for emergencies. You need to talk about, okay, falane ki shaadi ho rahi hai, usko 500 rupaye dene ya 1000 rupaye dene. If we talk about those things, then why can't we talk about the bigger savings? What's going to happen when we're 60? If we haven't talked about money today, there's certain things we just don't want to talk about. We'll discuss it with our parents, we won't discuss it with the wife we got married to or the husband we got married to. Why? This is the person you're going to grow old with. Why shouldn't you be talking about money? Money makes the world go round, right? It's important. It's essential. And if it is essential, then talking about it is essential too. So the takeaway from this slide, really, when you think of all the things that we're talking about here, is that yes, there are very many kinds of crises in a relationship. That does not mean we should be scared of relationships. I told you, very rewarding too, provided we understand and appreciate that yes, crises can come, and that our relationship should be strong enough to be able to handle these crises situations. So if you build a strong relationship, it can handle all the storms that come and hit it. It will still stay strong. But if it's weak and dithering, any storm comes and your relationship has gone down the drain. What was that? So what are the solutions? First of all, start looking at your partner with new eyes now that we've talked about these things. Look at your partner as another individual, a personality with weaknesses, with strengths, with challenges, who may also have doubts sometimes, who may also sometimes be worried, scared, and does not know the answers to everything. Right? This person has evolved. If you met each other 5 years ago, and 5 years ago you were, let's say, 30 years old. So when you're 30, you were these two people. 35 are two completely different people. You're not the same person anymore. Why would you be? So people say, oh, he's changed or she's changed. Oh, excuse me, you've changed too. Both of you have changed. And if you've not changed, then you're not growing as an individual, as a person. Expect change. But if you're growing in harmony, the change will be nice. It will enrich your lives. It will not be something that takes you down the drain. Okay? And your communication needs to shed the past. You need to stop. Once in a while, it's nice to, oh, we went on this holiday to Mahabaleshwar. Okay, great. That's nice. But who was your girlfriend? Why are you thinking about? Oh yeah, this girl's name is Chaya. Your girlfriend's name was also Chaya. हाँ तुम उसके बारे में सोच रहे हो. क्यों छाया को हम वापस ले आए लाइफ में? छाया तो छाया बन के चली गई थी. Right? That what happened at your wedding, who said what to whom, whether, in the beginning of your relationship, whether you and his mother or you and her father got along or didn't get along. Come on, man. That's all gone. The past is history. I hate history. You know why? Look at today how many fights and wars we're having because of what happened, who Aurangzeb did what to whom, and Shivaji said what to whom, and who liked this one and who liked that one and who didn't. Religion and real estate and wars and country. Oh my God. We are here in the now, in the present, and there is a future ahead of us. If you keep looking back and walking, you're going to fall into a ditch. And history is back there. So leave it there. I call it the dustbin of history. I think history is full of so much kachra. Leave it. If we've learned any lessons from it, yes, let's use those. But let's not keep referring to the past. It's not going to take us anywhere. Learn the lessons from history. Hold on to those lessons. Improve your life with those lessons and move on. Right? I wonder how many of you agree with me. I can't see you right now, but I hope some of you at least do agree with me. How many of you have watched the series Friends? They accepted each other for who they were. They supported each other. Sometimes they did some, like Joey and all, did some very foolish things. Phoebe did some very crazy things. There was a lot of intelligence in Phoebe. But some of her actions were really crazy. But they supported each other. They were there for each other, which is why their relationship lasted. Their friendships lasted. That's what we have to be with each other. It involves a certain amount of, people keep talking about ego. Uska ego bahut hai. Ego is not a bad thing. When is it a bad thing? When you become egoistical. When your ego, when who I am and what I want is more important than what anybody else wants. That's when you have trouble, my friends. That's not the kind of ego you want in your lives. So if you find that these things are happening, these crisis type situations are happening, remember, look at that picture there. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Every tunnel has light at the end of it. The light at the end of the tunnel for us in relationships is awareness, communication, wanting to reach the end of the tunnel, wanting to say, yes, there is darkness all around me, but I want to get there where there is light. And if you need to seek help, whether professional help, so many times people seek help from their family members. They say, oh, great, I'll talk to my uncle, I'll talk to my aunt, I'll talk to my... Yes, but what happens, and that's great. But what happens there is that relatives and friends come from a place of emotion. They feel, oh God, I'm so sorry for you. Is this really happening to you? Oh, that other person is such a terrible person. Now, what are you going to do? And then they start giving you advice based on their own experiences. But they are them and you are you. So sometimes you need to seek help from somebody who is not emotionally involved, who has compassion but is not emotionally involved. So when you don't understand something, you go to a doctor. First you have haldi doodh for 3 days when you have a cough, you're doing all these garglings and whatnot. But if it doesn't go away, what do? You go to a doctor, right? And you say, "Bhaiya, look at my throat. Please tell me what to do." And then you're examined and then something is given, right? So a counselor or a psychologist like me is not going to give you a magic solution. No, you have to work with your psychologist. You have to work with your counselor or your therapist. You can't just keep on taking the medicine that you were given for your cough and still going out there and smoking cigarettes or drinking iced water. You'll have to take care there too. So it's a two-pronged approach. Help, practical solutions that will come from within you with the help of your therapist or your doctor or the sex therapist or the psychologist or whoever it is who's helping you. And you will also have to put in efforts. And sometimes both of you will have to go in. Sometimes the other partner is not interested. You got a problem, you go talk to your counselor. If that happens, so be it. Go alone. Try to find new ways of working on your relationship. That works too, if both of you are not willing to go. But seek help, find solutions, and make your relationship better, because believe me, it is totally worth it. For some reason, the two of you were meant to meet. There are no coincidences in life. Two of you were meant to meet. Two of you were meant to walk on this journey together. So make the journey pleasant. Don't say, this journey is no good, I'll go find another journey. You can't keep doing that. You'll do it once, you'll do it twice. Eventually you want to, settle down. And so the relationship has to work out. So in conclusion, I'd like to say all relationships can be very, very beautiful, provided we work hard on them. There is no happily ever after, but yes, there can be a lot of joy, there can be a lot of vitality in a relationship. But you can make it happen. It won't happen by magic. It won't happen just because you wore a great gagra and a wonderful sherwani and put a ring on your finger and, took photo ops and, you had a social media wedding or whatever it is. No, all that is all over in 1 week. But what about the rest of the weeks and the rest of the years and the rest of the decades that lie ahead of you? So good luck with your relationships. Really work on them and realize the value of them, and also accept the fact that they can be ups and downs, and that you can work your way through those ups and downs if you really, really want to. Thank you. It was great talking to you.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Can I request you to stop sharing the
Yes,
slideshow?
I will stop sharing right now.
We've got a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
Since we are stuck in our homes, how do we cope up with parents who are stuck away in different locations with regards to age, point of view, and feeling guilty of not being there physically?
Okay, so I'll take the second part of that. I can understand having parents far away is quite something. Let me take the second part of it. If your parents are up to, if you had deliberately left them and dumped them somewhere, yes, you had the right to feel guilty. But circumstances are such that even if you want to go there and have the money, the wherewithal, the intention, everything, you really can't go there. You're not being allowed to go there. Okay? Thank God for the fact that you today have telephones where you can see each other, you can talk to each other, you can encourage them, you can say, Mama, what are you doing? Have you been eating properly? Would you like to, have you, gone down and walked in the building or whatever it is? Are you taking care of yourself? You can find out whether, there are anybody in that town or village or wherever who can help you to get medicines to them, or, if they need some help with shopping, groceries or anything, you can do that for them. So practical help that you can provide. You don't need to feel guilty about it. We've all been I was in Canada when my father was admitted into the ICU. There was nobody else but me. Don't ask me how I managed to get back, found some crazy tickets and got back to India, but I managed, of course, unfortunately, on his deathbed. But that was a very, very radical situation. He was 90 plus. If your parents are in their 60s or 70s or whatever, thank God they are still fit. They are able to get around, and if they have some health difficulties, create a kind of a network around them where you have friends who can reach out to them, get them medicines. Nowadays, a lot of the shops are delivering home also in towns and villages. You don't have to look at Amazon and all that. The local shops are delivering. So you can do that. What was the first part of the question? It was about, one was about guilt, and what was the other part?
Yeah, how do we cope up with parents who are stuck away in a different location? And they're slightly elderly parents, basically.
What is elderly?
This person is probably feeling guilty that in the current situation they're not able to look after the parents because of the lockdown, or go and
You are looking after them if you're talking to them, if you're reaching out to them through all the channels that you can, you are looking out for them. You're not turning your face away and saying, okay, fine, you're there, you look out for yourself. That would be really bad. The very fact that you're asking this question means you care. Right? So find practical ways of helping them and taking care of them. Make sure that you're in regular communication with them. Let them also see that you are okay, and you make sure that they are okay. And make sure that you can talk to their doctor or whoever it is you need. You have all the numbers so that you can make the neighbors and so on, so that you have people who can keep an eye on them for you.
And the next question is, how do you deal with friends when they take you for granted?
Oh boy. If your friends are taking you for granted, you have to ask yourself, have you been a very giving person? Have you always been there for them? Have you been the person who's always, paying the cost in this relationship and they've been getting the rewards? If you have allowed them to take you for granted, they will always take you for granted. I think what you need to do, the person who's asked this question, is that you need to find out whether you're being a passive person in this relationship, in these friendships, or are you also being assertive sometimes? There is the art of saying no gently. You don't have to say yes for everything and then start feeling resentful inside that these people take me for granted. The friendship is a two-way street, right? Sometimes the movie they want to see, sometimes the movie you want to see. Sometimes we eat Chinese food because they want to eat it, and sometimes we eat Indian because we want to eat it, right? So relationships will stay healthy and people will not take you for granted if you don't let them take you for granted. There's a subtle Lakshman Rekha in friendships that has to be kept in place. Learn to say no. Learn to sometimes say, no, I'm sorry, today I have some other things to do. I cannot do this for you today. Don't just give up everything of yours and be there for them all the time and then afterwards say that, oh my God, these people are taking me for granted. They'll take you for granted. I would take you for granted if I was in their place. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that.
Ma'am, some good feedback saying amazing views on parenting. It's been a best session. There's somebody who has a name Galaxy A50, but we don't know what their name is.
So, hi, Galaxy A50.
Can you type?
Yes,
can you tell us who you are? What your name is? But they seem to attend also the webinars, but with the name Galaxy A50. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I've switched on your cameras. Can you please switch on the videos?
Hi, I can see Rashmi. I can see. Let me see who else. Hi, Rashmi.
That Galaxy A50 is Reema.
Okay, hi. Hi, Hina.
Can I request everyone to switch on your cameras, please?
I can't see Paraj and Nishant and Minal and Madhavi and Galaxy. Hey, Galaxy, show yourself. It's so lovely seeing some of you. It's nice.
So, ma'am, we have Nishant and Ashwini who have logged in from Dubai.
Sorry?
Nishant and Ashwini have logged in from Dubai.
Hi, how's it going in Dubai? Sitting under lockdown. Hi, people. Nice of you to join us all the way from there.
Absolutely. It's a complete pleasure, ma'am. It was really
Thank you so much.
It was a topic generally we don't discuss on.
I know. And I'll tell you something.
Thank you for picking up this topic, for every one of us. Seriously.
Thank you. I'm so glad that I think people need to talk about a lot of things that we bury under the carpet. The carpet is getting too full of junk, now. There are too many things we are burying under. And we talk about so many irrelevant things, but things that really matter, things that will enrich our lives. So I hope the takeaway from this has been that yes, it's important to talk. We have the faculty. We have the ability to communicate. We must communicate.
Absolutely.
And if we don't communicate, we're the ones who suffer. Who else suffers except us?
Exactly.
Right?
True.
Exactly. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Both of you from so far away.
Thank you, folks. I think the other people are shy to put on their cameras for some reason.
Okay, let me see if I can see anybody else. I can see Damini. Hi, Damini. Hi. And Sonal. Hi, Sonal. Good to see you. I can see, can't see a lot.
Smile everyone for the camera.
We're all smiling. So let's all make the best of this situation. Whenever a terrible situation like this comes, we just got to make the best of it. We've got to find all our strengths and use them. And not just keep saying, oh my God, when is this going to get over? You know, if you're going from here to Delhi in a train and you're sitting and saying, Delhi kab aayega, Delhi kab aayega, Delhi utne hi ghanton ke baad aayega. But if you look around and look out of the window and talk to your neighbor and eat something interesting and read your book and listen to your music, Delhi will come. Right? So one day we'll reach the end of this road, people. We just need to make ourselves stronger. And we can. Thank you, Chirag, for giving us this opportunity to meet. I really appreciate
Ma'am, for the wonderful session. I think it was great listening to some of the points you shared. I think most of the things we already know in the back of our minds, but this was like a good refresher of some of the things. And of course, it's not only about a spouse or a love or a romantic relationship, but these principles or these suggestions are important and relevant in any adult relationship.
We can apply them in various ways.
Yeah.
You know, we can apply them. All we need to do is to think how we can apply them. And you can do it.
Thank you once again, everyone. And
Have a great evening,
Thank you
everybody.
for this lovely session.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
Both
for
of
joining
y'all.
me.
Thank you.
We've got our next webinar, that's day after tomorrow, which is with Ameya Sharma, who is joining us from Prince Edward Island in Canada. And
lovely.
he's going to be teaching us how to make some interesting cocktails.
Oh, wow.
So I thought let's have some serious discussions along with some fun sessions as well. So we'll learn during lockdown to make some nice cocktails at home.